There are moments in time when destiny seems to choose a single nation to reshape the fate of all humanity. And America, born in rebellion and built in hope, became that nation. Imagine a world without airplanes, without light in the dark, without the internet connecting us across oceans, without the belief that one person's dream could change everything. That was the world before America. From the moment 13 colonies dared to defy the might of the British Empire in 1776, something extraordinary began. The American Revolution was more than a war. It was a statement to the entire planet that liberty, not lineage, could define a people. Those words written on parchment, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal," echoed across centuries, inspiring revolutions in France, uprisings in Latin America, and freedom movements around the globe. When George Washington took his oath as the first president, he wasn't just shaping a new country. He was carving a model for future nations. The Constitution, though imperfect, planted the seeds of democracy that would one day take root in dozens of lands. Yet America's rise was not smooth or pure. It was tested by the weight of its own contradictions. It expanded westward, driven by manifest destiny, believing it was chosen to span from ocean to ocean. Railroads, steel, and sweat built a new kind of empire, one of ideas and opportunity, but also one shadowed by the tragedy of slavery and the displacement of native peoples. Still, through every conflict, the country grew stronger, driven by a relentless belief that tomorrow could be better. When the Civil War erupted in 1861, the very soul of America was at stake. Could a nation built on liberty survive while enslaving millions? The answer came in blood, but also in renewal. Abraham Lincoln's words, "A new birth of freedom," reshaped the American promise. The abolition of slavery sent a moral message far beyond its borders. Freedom, once earned, could never again be denied. In the aftermath, America began to innovate like no nation before. The 19th century turned the United States into a workshop of dreams. Thomas Edison lit the night with his incandescent bulb, forever ending humanity's dependence on daylight. Alexander Graham Bell connected voices across miles with the telephone. Henry Ford turned the automobile from luxury to necessity, teaching the world the power of mass production. Every invention born in an American garage or lab soon found its way into homes across continents. Inventions weren't just tools. They were extensions of the American spirit, creative, daring, and restless. Then came the age of steel and steam, of skyscrapers and ambition, as cities like New York, Chicago, and San Francisco rose as symbols of human progress. Immigrants poured through Ellis Island, eyes wide with hope, each one adding their culture, language, and labor to the great experiment. The Statue of Liberty, standing tall in New York Harbor, was not just a monument, it was a message that America belonged to anyone willing to believe. As the 20th century dawned, the nation turned its energy outward. The Spanish-American War of 1898 marked the beginning of America's global presence. But it was World War I that truly announced its arrival as a world power. When President Woodrow Wilson spoke of making the world safe for democracy, he redefined America's role. Not just a land of opportunity, but a guardian of ideals. Yet peace was fragile, and 2 decades later, the world was at war again. World War II became a turning point not just for America, but for civilization itself. As fascism rose and freedom faltered, the U.S. became the arsenal of democracy, producing more tanks, planes, and ships than any nation in history. When Allied forces stormed Normandy, American soldiers carried not just weapons, but the hopes of millions. And when the war ended and the mushroom clouds over Hiroshima and Nagasaki announced the atomic age, it was clear America had become the most powerful nation the world had ever known. But with great power came great responsibility. Through the Marshall Plan, the U.S. rebuilt a shattered Europe, proving that generosity could be as transformative as might. It championed the creation of the United Nations, envisioning a world where dialogue could replace destruction. Yet even as the Cold War dawned, dividing East and West, America's influence only deepened. The race to space, born from rivalry with the Soviet Union, pushed humanity beyond its earthly limits. When Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon in 1969, declaring "one giant leap for mankind," the entire planet looked up in awe. America had turned imagination into reality, proving that even the stars could be reached. But while rockets soared, revolutions also stirred at home. The civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s became one of the greatest moral awakenings in history. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X confronted centuries of injustice, reminding the world that the American promise was only real when it included everyone. King's dream of equality echoed far beyond America's borders, inspiring movements in South Africa, India, and across the globe. Through its struggles, America taught the world that freedom is not given, it is fought for day by day. In culture too, America became a mirror for the human soul. Hollywood turned stories into universes. Movies like Gone with the Wind, Star Wars, and Titanic shaped generations. Jazz and blues gave birth to rock and roll, and rock evolved into hip-hop, a sound born from struggle that became the heartbeat of the world. The American voice in song and cinema became universal. And behind that culture lay technology that changed everything. Silicon Valley emerged as a new frontier, its pioneers shaping the digital age. Bill Gates gave us the personal computer. Steve Jobs transformed how we connect. And young dreamers like Mark Zuckerberg turned friendship into a global network. The internet, born from American research, redefined communication, business, and even identity. In a single generation, the United States made the entire planet one conversation. Yet America's influence was not only in innovation, it was in the power of its example. Through both triumph and failure, the nation's openness to change set it apart. The women's suffrage movement, environmental activism, LGBTQ rights, all became part of its evolving story. Each movement inspired others worldwide to demand more from their governments, more from their societies, more from themselves. Economically, the United States became the beating heart of global trade. The dollar became the measure of value, Wall Street the pulse of finance, and American corporations the architects of modern business. Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Nike, and Apple, brands born in small American towns, became global icons. They symbolized not just products but an entire way of life, convenience, creativity, and freedom of choice. But power has its price. Wars in Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan tested America's resolve and reputation. Its foreign policies, sometimes noble, sometimes flawed, often sparked both admiration and resentment. Yet even its critics could not deny the depth of its impact. When disaster struck, whether an earthquake in Haiti or famine in Africa, it was often America that arrived first. Its aid programs, Peace Corps volunteers, and humanitarian missions demonstrated that influence could be compassionate. In science and medicine, American discoveries saved lives worldwide. Jonas Salk's polio vaccine ended one of history's greatest plagues. NASA's satellites mapped the Earth, predicting storms and saving millions. The Human Genome Project unlocked the code of life itself. Each breakthrough extended humanity's reach. In education, its universities became global beacons: Harvard, MIT, Stanford, temples of knowledge that attracted the brightest minds. Students returned to their countries carrying not just degrees, but ideas, transforming their own nations. Yet America's greatest lesson was always its ability to self-correct. From Watergate to civil rights, from economic crashes to social divides, it never stopped questioning itself. That relentless introspection, the freedom to dissent, became its strength. The world watched as America debated, protested, evolved, and realized that democracy was not about perfection, but about persistence. Today, as we stand in a world shaped by technology, trade, and culture that all trace their roots to the United States, it is clear that America's story is not just its own. The movies we watch, the clothes we wear, the music we love, the tools we use, all carry whispers of the American dream. But that dream is not about wealth or power, it is about possibility. The belief that no matter where you begin, you can rise. From the dirt roads of Mississippi to the skyscrapers of Manhattan, from Silicon Valley's garages to NASA's launch pads, America has proven that one idea, that ordinary people can change the world, is the most powerful force in history. And though the nation still faces challenges, inequality, division, and doubt, its journey reminds us that progress is not a straight line. It is a long, winding path paved by courage. So when we ask how America changed the world forever, the answer is everywhere. In the light that fills our nights, in the voices that cross continents, in the dreams we dare to chase. Because America's greatest export was never just technology or culture, it was hope. The hope that humanity, though flawed, can always build something better. And as long as that belief endures, the story of America will never end, because it lives in the hearts of everyone who dares to dream, to fight, and to change the world forever.